Hey everybody, welcome to the Make America Strong Again project, a podcast where we want to help Americans get healthy again. And we want to do that by getting them into the gym and helping them to get strong again. Today, we're going to be talking to Eric Reid and Pete McCall, two guys who are super knowledgeable about the gym industry and personal training, as well as education around fitness. They talk a lot about today the importance of programming and how it's a really efficient way to get your members systematic results and to get them those results consistently at all skill levels. So let's dive in. All right. So first, I want to start with Eric. Eric, so your clubs made a shift from the typical high volume model to one more centered around results. What was the catalyst for that change?
Well, I got sick of banging my head against the same spot on the wall every day in my office. But really what I did is I thought really deeply about what it is that a member is looking for when they come through the door. And the underlying for everybody was that they came in for a result, like to look better or feel better. There's not one person that came into a club, probably in the world, that didn't want to do one of those two things or both, right? So what made me change my thought process is that, number one, I now have a technology that can kind of give what I'm saying we can. And the reason I've done that is because the reality is members, even paying members, aren't all using the gym, right? So we have a problem with engagement. We have an issue with the fact that we just hope people come to the gym. We hope they stay. We hope they learn how to use our equipment. So it's almost an impossibility that we're ever going to move forward or even dip into that 80% outside of our current market that's not going to our gym. If we can't even get the people that are in our fish tank healthy, it's going to be really hard to dip outside of that. So,
yeah, absolutely. And so Pete, from a trainer development perspective, what's your take on how important is it for a gym to kind of lead with results rather than to drive sales?
Well, no, I love that mindset, right? Because when you look at what personal trainers do, personal trainers get into the industry because they fundamentally want to help people. I mean, every personal trainer cares about helping people. And where they're not as dialed in is they're not as dialed in on business, metrics, sales, marketing. If they were, they'd be doing something else. But these are people who, exercise comes easy to them and they sincerely care about making a difference. So when you have what you see when most health clubs do is they really try to emphasize the sales. Let's keep people in here. Let's get people signed up, but they don't put the same amount of emphasis on the service. And I think really the biggest opportunity in our industry is to take a refocus and a reshift and really emphasize the service, the outcomes, and lead with results. And I've been saying this for years because if the way we used to sell personal training, if I sell 10 or 20 sessions of training, I'm selling 10 or 20 hours of exercise. Nobody wants to buy 20 hours of exercise. Nobody wants to buy 20 hours of something that makes them sweaty, uncomfortable, and whatever. But when you put the results first, whether I want to get bigger muscles, whether I want to lose fat, whether I want to build my endurance, if you sell based on results, now, hey, I can buy into that. That's something that if I'm a consumer, that's something I want, right? I mean, when you have the old story about if I go to Home Depot and, I'm looking for a drill, I'm not looking for the drill. What am I really looking for? I need to make a hole in something. I need to build something. I need to fix something. Right. So it's like, we have to take that same mindset of when people come to the gym, they're not coming there for the process. Very few people. It's the personal trainers, the people who become personal trainers are the ones who enjoy the process of exercising. 98% of the rest of the public probably don't like exercise that much. They need to be sold on the results. And more importantly, they need to be sold on here's the service, here's the system that's going to get you the results you want.
Yeah, that's so true. The process is uncomfortable. It's not something that you want to jump into, but you do it because it makes you feel better. You do it for that result, to be healthier, to be more fit. That's absolutely.
Right. And if you don't have a system in place and we're not speaking in the same language, you're never going to inspire people to want to do that, right? Yeah. That's a tough sell.
Well, But think about it. I was having this conversation earlier where you look at the different age ranges of fitness consumers. Well, 20 somethings that come into fitness, 20 somethings have a crazy lifestyle that they're staying up late. They're probably eating like garbage, but they can train for 2 hours a day because they don't have kids. But then when you get into your 30s, now you get more work responsibility. Now maybe you have more family responsibility, and that stuff goes away. So people need to learn to train differently. And it really is up to the gyms to be able to recognize that, because the needs of a 50-year-old are much, much different than the needs of a 20-year-old. Yet all gyms are basically being sold to 20-year-olds who basically have the time and the ability to go research how to work out. 50-year-olds don't have that time. They're working, they got family stuff, they got other stuff going on. Or even 30, 40-year-olds, they just don't have that time. So I think really the big thing of shifting that mindset to service is really identifying who are the customers that need the greatest level of assistance and support.
That's true. The time crunch is real when you get older. There's so much going on. You got to fit your workouts into those short windows, and efficiency really becomes the name of the game. So that's a good point. I've never really thought about it like that, but you obviously need to make sure you're getting the best bang for your buck kind of as you get older.
That's all we think about.
Well,
yeah, that
no,
makes
but
sense.
you think about it. But think about it when you're 20s. I mean, what are your responsibilities in your 20s, right? In your early 20s, that's when you're getting into the gym lifestyle. But then, and this is one thing that I really try to get when I work with younger adults, is really try to get them that mindset of create the habits now, because then when you get busier at work, when you get more responsibility at work, when you get kids and you have more family responsibility, it's already a habit. And I think that's where, by shifting to a service first model, Eric, what you're doing is you're acknowledging that your members need that assistance. Your members need a different approach to the support that you can offer them in your facility.
And I'm also happy to assert that, I assumed when I did that approach and I changed that model and that mindset, that it was going to be really geared towards that 40 something, 50 something, 60 something crowd. But I had a explosion of 20 somethings that were just so interested in strength. They wanted to know more. That this new group of people coming into the industry right now, these new consumers, they're actually willing to pay for what they're buying, like what they're looking for. They'll pay for it.
Yeah.
So it works out well.
That's a great point you made too, Pete, about the habits. I've definitely found that having that habit, that routine is so important. And when I followed certain types of programs, it's kind of easier to get in that habit because for sure you got to go at least 3 times a week or 4 times a week or whatever that program says. It kind of starts you on that path a little bit easier than you just try to do it by yourself and kind of guess and check.
Mm-hmm. So why don't we move to I know I sent over some slides to you, TJ, and sorry I sent them to you so late, but if you don't mind going to like the first one, maybe we can kind of bang out a little bit of this, just the result of the change I made to an outcome-based model, just for context. I think most people viewing are like, yeah, that sounds great, but what did that mean to my revenue line? Because I'm on, Pete's obviously on the side of the training side for the most part. He obviously understands the business of the business too, but my main focus is obviously what does that equate to in my revenue lines. So selling outcomes over selling features pretty much in an 18-month period decreased my attrition rate 20%. I mean, at 1,000 members even, and I sell at about $40 a month. I mean, you just do the math. It's so much money saved. I think I figured out in my head over a year, it's like $40,000 saved on just 1,000 members. So it's pretty huge. Lower, this is again on the business side. We're paying attention to these types of numbers. Is how many came in and how many left us, right? That's what this schematic means. If you go to the next page, next slide. And then how do we do it? Obviously, we already talked about that. But the key drivers for me in improving my retention and shrinking my attrition, which is basically the same thing, personalized programs is the first thing I did. I brought in a technology. It's called Ramp. This isn't a sales pitch for Ramp. That's not what this is about. This is about MASA. This is about, moving forward together as an industry. But it is the system that I use. So I don't mind kind of saying that. But giving members results and gaining their trust first before we even try to really sell them any personal training has just improved my ability to honestly sell more if I'm being completely candid. But just that improved onboarding from the new member, as well as what Pete was saying, is teaching this new thought process to my trainers and specifically my new trainers, onboarding them the correct way, but giving them a system to use that takes care of the heavy lifting, the programming part of it, has been just monumental. It's been just an absolute game changer. Members seeing their own progress. Like now we're using our InBody. Shout out to InBody. You guys are awesome. We use those. We run tons of those per day. Just showing members what they're capable of, say in like an 8-week period, is what is the catalyst for them kind of getting on the fitness boat, so to speak, and making it that lifestyle change that Pete was talking about. And I think it's just very important that we get people in, we give them what they paid for, we show them the result, and we just kind of keep going. So if you went to the next slide.
Well, actually, if I can hop in here for Eric and ask you
Yeah,
a quick
please.
question.
Yeah, stop me. I go and go.
Now, because this has been a conversation I've been having with a couple of colleagues for years, and that's the onboarding process. Because what's the cost of new member acquisition in terms of marketing, advertising, staff time? How much? I mean, would you say, let's call it $750 is how much you pay out of pocket maybe to get a member to walk through your door? Would that be kind of just a ballpark, $750, $800?
Honestly, it could be. Honestly, it could be with the amount of competition out there right now and the amount, how much more you have to spend in marketing to get that lead over your competitor. Yeah. That could be true.
If you're doing online social media advertising, you have to pay a marketing person. You have to pay anyway, the cost to get people through the door. And then you look at what we do in the industry. You spend all this money to get people to join our gym. Hey, great, Eric, you're a member. Good luck. I mean, it's like honestly, I'm going to go back to that Home Depot model. Imagine going to Home Depot and it's like, I need these power tools in order to build a deck. Well, what good is reciprocating saw, or what good is something that really powerful if I don't know the freak how to use it? I'm going to get home. I'm going to have a 5 horsepower saw and I have no idea. I'm going to take my leg off because I don't know what I'm doing. I mean, and it's kind of the same way in the industry is we sell memberships, but then we just let people come in and you and I both know, I mean, gym fail videos exist for a reason because people just fundamentally, we think because we exercise, we're the experts. We exercise. We think everybody else knows how to do it. But how many people that join your club are freaking clueless and they're wandering around? And it's funny because I think what's the most common way to learn how to exercise? Monkey see, monkey do. If I'm a guy, I'm gonna follow that big dude around. I'm gonna be like 2 meters back doing whatever he's doing. If I'm a woman, I'm gonna be following that one woman with a great butt who I want to look like. I'll be following her around. And that literally, I mean, we spend all this money, all this time, all this energy and effort to get people to join our clubs. And we're doing great at that. Numbers, I don't know if you've seen the numbers, we're up 5%. We now have 25% of the population with memberships to clubs, but we're just, once they get through the doors, the onboarding for members is relatively low, and let alone the onboarding for personal trainers. I really think when you look at onboarding, when you look at that list and with what we're talking about, I really think one of the biggest opportunities in the industry is onboarding members, getting members onto understanding how to do a program, and then 2, investing the time and the money to onboard your team members so they understand the mission and understand how to execute the mission.
Yeah, my clientele, I mean, not my clientele, my staff has to go through, again, I'm not plugging it, but ramp school. It's called being a certified metabolic technician. There's a whole course on it that it's really the new business model, showing them the new business model, not necessarily how to sell something specific or how to program. That the program already does it for you. It's teaching them the why behind the program and the why behind the business, because just like you said, trainers, I would probably say, and I'm sure you'll agree, that for the most part, they feel like they're on their own island, right? Because we're such a divided,
they do.
It's we have a sales staff and a PT staff, right? And it's like, no, we have a fitness staff. So the first thing we need to change is the fact that we don't have 2 islands, we have one, right?
No, and they should be on the same one. They should go through the same training. And then the one thing, I don't know, Eric, if you ever talked to anybody and you're more East Coast, and 24 Hour Fitness is more of a West Coast, Midwest company, but 24 Hour Fitness and Town Sports International, I started in Town Sports 25 years ago. And at that time, both 24 Hour Fitness and Town Sports had a 5 to 7 day. Some clubs had a 2 week. Trainers had to go through 10 days 40 hours of in class, or 10, no, 10 days, that's 80 hours. They had to go from anywhere from 40 to 80 hours of in class training before they even before they could walk the floor. And at that point, if you talk to an old school 24-hour fitness person or an old school TSI person, I'll bet you they probably still have one of their training manuals from the program they went through 20, 25 years ago, because it was that impactful. And I
Yeah,
really
I
think
agree.
that's one of the missing pieces of the industry is if you onboard your team members, if you onboard your personal trainers, your sales team, you onboard your fitness team the right way. And you're right, sales team should be getting almost the same training as a personal training team, and vice versa, because then everybody understands the mission. And hey, if I'm not, I mean, how awesome would it be if if I don't have any clients, if I have two clients bail on me and it's prime time and I can land two sales of people walking through the door and I'm going to get commission on two sales instead of training two sessions. I mean, how awesome is that? Right. And I think
Amazing.
to me, that's the biggest white space and the biggest opportunity in the industry is really put the education first and foremost. And I love your model, Eric. The more I learn about it, the more I love it, of just everybody being on the same team. Get rid of those departmental silos.
Yeah, nope. All I did, I like to say it was something, sensational or something monumental, but it was really just very simple, archaic. How do you actually have a team? Like, you think about a team sport, right? Like the football or whatever. It's, yeah, there's offense and defense, but together they work together to win the game, right? So it's odd that as soon as you get into the fitness industry, and you can feel the divide. You've been into a lot of clubs, Pete. You feel the divide, even though those desks are 40 feet apart. It's like two separate companies working under the same roof. And when I came into my company, it was the same thing. It was an old Gold's Gym model, which was the OG sales. Um, that was the first thing I noticed, was that it was two departments, oftentimes working against each other. But at the very least, they didn't have the same mission, the same goals. They didn't have the same intention, I guess, is the most important part. It was about money and who's going to sell what before the next person, so that I make sure I get commission. And in reality, if we can get more of our inactive members woken up into programming, I mean, everybody's going to eat. Everybody's going to eat.
Well, and programming is service and programming are the key words, because that one goes hand in hand with the other. Is programming is service, and there's a huge difference between a trainer who can give somebody a workout and a trainer who can design a program that keeps a member, keeps a client engaged for weeks or months at a time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, agreed. I don't know where I'm at in my slides, but okay, yeah. Yeah, I wanted to add in, my PT penetration, which, again, Pete, you probably know, there's that 3 to 5% in the market is about it, which is pretty bad. It's hard to hang your head on it and put anything into it. But we have a large PT department in my clubs, with Ramp. Again, not a shameless plug, but it's the system I use. What I've been able to do is actually sell more training sessions after a person has been on a Ramp program. The reason is because I've now gained the trust of that member, because at point of sale, saying, hey, TJ, I got option one, which is a base membership, or option two, you can pay me $500 a month to work with a trainer. Which one works best? That's a tough disparity, and that's where we end up, and again, I know we hand it off to the training department, which again is the separate silo in the back of the gym. And then they take a swing at the client who's already slightly disenfranchised by the sales system and by the intake of how we do business. It's just like, oh, this person tried to sell me, and then they sent me to another person and they tried to sell me too. In reality, it's somebody comes to our clubs, they get personalized programming. Every single person that comes in, if they're interested in it, we penetrate about 20 to 25% of our new members with a ramp program. And my penetration that's increased to 7%, I think it's 7% on there. That is the result of people that started on a ramp program, and we were able to upgrade their service, kind of supercharge their experience after we've gained their trust, if that makes sense.
Well, no, it makes total sense. And the one thing, when I hear trust and when I see these numbers, the question I want to ask you, Eric, is what is the energy like in your clubs? And where I'm going with that is
Oh
what's the
yeah,
sense of community in your clubs? Because, and I
it's
mean that
so
because
crazy.
if I see people join, if I've been a member for a club and I see that new woman join, maybe she joined in February, she didn't join at the January rush, but she joined in February. I've been coming to your gym for 5 years, but I see this woman lose 30 pounds over the course of 4 or 5 months. What do you think I'm gonna do? I'm gonna give her a high five. I'm gonna give her knuckles. I'm gonna say, hey, good job. I see you in here working your ass off. How does that, I mean, what's happening with that sense of communities? Do you feel, is there kind of a palpable, a tangible sense of community that's been
It's
developing within
honestly
those
electric,
clubs?
and TJ can attest to it. TJ's been into my clubs. TJ's seen the gradual change. It's electric, because we're taking these new members and we're turning them into our influencers. We shout them out. We put them on our social media pages. We create community. My staff is wearing a ramp shirt. Guess who's also wearing the same exact t-shirt? Every ramp client that we sell, right? So when you see one of these, that's high five or knuckles, just like you said. And it's so infectious, it's insane. So again, that
But think
trust
about it.
community.
But where the other thing that when I see these numbers, when I see a penetration rate like that, Eric, what I see, the thing that pops out of my mind is anti AI. I had to deal with a phone company today, and I spent 20 minutes yelling at the thing, going customer service, customer service. You can't find a person. You're just getting all these like regurgitated. This is artificial intelligence, yada yada yada. But when you have in the clubs, one of the things that I'm really so bullish on the club, the club aspect is clubs are anti AI. That's where if I want to be around other people, and I consider myself an introvert, but I hate working out at home. I get
Right.
charged up on energy of being around others. And that's one of the things I love about going into clubs is because I look at fitness, and I mean this sincerely. I look at fitness as being the whole anti technology play, right? Yes, we're using technology. Yes, we're understanding data. But really, at the end of the day, if I've been working at home by myself, if I've been working in a silo at work on some project, where do I want to go to be around people? I could go to a bar, but then I got to pay $8 a drink. I'm adding calories. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to go see my friends. I'm going to go work out with those people that give me energy and make me feel better. And I really think when I see numbers like this, man, you're doing a killer job because when I see numbers
I
like
do.
that, I can tell your clubs just have an automatic community feel without even walking through there, which means I need to get my
Class.
butt across country and go to New Hampshire and see
I
what
please,
FitLab's
please,
doing.
you'll immediately feel it. Even the new members that come in, they automatically they mention it, which is just weird to me because it's never been the case. It's odd, but it's fun. It's my new normal, right? So I'm still getting used to my new normal, which is just like my staff is engaged. They're happy to be there. They're no longer just holding up the front desk. They're part of the process, right? They're part of the journeys of all these people that aren't necessarily led by a trainer anymore. Some of them are, obviously based on this chart. More of them are than were about 18 months ago. But there's so many clients that I have that are doing a ramp program that aren't using a trainer as well. And like I said, I'm penetrating 20 to 25% just on that. So I guess it's a
And
good
as
time
you've been
to
doing that,
actually
well,
go ahead.
but as you've been doing that, where my mind goes to is because one of the biggest challenges we've had in the industry is freaking trainer turnover and trying to find new staff and trying to get new people
That's
on
where I
the
was
team.
going.
So here you go. Your engagement's up with your members. Your PT penetration is up. Members getting results. What's happening to your turnover? I mean, how many trainers are walking out the door, and what's happening with your staff and development?
Nothing at all. And where I was going to go is exactly where you went with this, because that's the next natural progression thought process from owner operator or somebody in the industry is, what do the trainers think about this? Right. And what I will tell you is that when I started this program in my clubs, the first thing the trainers did is say, "No way, I don't want this. This is going to either undermine me, or it's going to take my place, or anything like that." I mean, all the trainers would have their own reasons. If you asked all mine, they'd probably say when I brought it in, it was like, no, it was like the you know there's a rain cloud just kind of came into the club. But what they soon realized after I kind of pulled it back a little bit, I made it a membership option rather than, hey, trainers, you're all going to use this as your programming means. I made it a membership option, gave it to my sales team, which at the time was still a sales team and I still had a PT team. And I proved to the trainers that not only was I going to your training clientele and your penetration was going to be unaffected. It was going to be improved. So as time goes, as you can see through this timeline, is the trainers started looking at it a little bit more like positive, like, wait a minute, this is actually getting more people interested in more than a base membership, right? Less people are just going to the treadmill, hitting quick start and quitting. They were noticing these things naturally. So what I knew about this program is this was going to happen naturally. I just needed them to kind of see it. And now that myself with my 5 clubs and other licensees that are proving that this model is true, not just in my clubs, not just in Rocco's clubs or all the other licensees that we have, all these clubs are realizing that you can have a training staff and still have a programming software involved, and they'll quickly see that it's actually bearing more fruit for them to kind of a bigger pond to fish from right now. Because now there's this, instead of having a month, 10 members that they might get a fitness consultation with, or 20 members or whatever. Now we're selling 50, 60, 70 of these a month. And now there's a conversation to have with more people that we've gained trust with. Right. And now, not to mention the fact that going from that defiance in the beginning to now saying, well, can't I use this to program for my current clients? And the answer was absolutely yes. It's going to make your job so much easier. You can now just be a good person, be a coach, teach on form and technique and rep cadence and things of that sort and variation. My trainers would probably be pretty upset if I tried to take it from them at this point.
And see that I look at this when I've played with ramp and I've used it for my own workouts. I look at it and go, I wish when I was training full time, I wish I'd had this, because in a club, I mean, the one of the biggest limitations you have, and I'm one of these dorks where I'd be up at night, programming, writing out the programs for my clients and doing all that, getting, doing work and not getting paid for it. I mean, we know how that's happened with trainers over the years. But one of the things I really, really like about this, and it's always interesting to hear you talk about it, Eric, is I look at it as the trainers now with your personal trainers, and what we can do with personal trainers is work on their soft skills, work on their interaction, work on their coaching skills, work on their behavior change skills. Because I think it was 2 to 3 years of my career when I realized exercise is only a small part of the equation, is because if somebody's not coming through the door, they're not doing the workout. What I have to understand is behavior change. I have to understand psychology. I have to understand how to engage a member, because I would rather have you come through the door and do a very low intensity light workout than not come through the door at all. But if I got you through the door, then I'm doing something right. And I think what I really like about this, in the service model, is from a club operator standpoint, you're getting people coming through the door and staying, and it really allows you to focus on that service from your team, so that your entire team has the ability to serve your members. I mean, what's your experience with that? Am I right about that?
No, you're spot on. It's like you actually work for me. It's a little bit scary, honestly. It's just there's just this if it's I don't know if it's a word or not, but just this oneness, about the team, and it truly feels like a team. Like everybody knows stem to stern exactly the process. Everybody from stem to stern knows the business model. They know the business of our business. They know what EFT means. Like I've been able to kind of take the time, since there's so much time savings with the personal trainer, specifically with the amount of time that they no longer have to spend on programming. I'm able to kind of sit with them, talk to them more about the business, show them a little bit more of the back end of the business, and teach them that intention is always gonna rule. Good intention is always gonna breed revenue, or something positive.
Well, and I know, if I'm a trainer, if I was one of your trainers, and real quick, just, hey, man, I'm in Southern California, you're, New Hampshire. If you start using oneness, that means you got to be coming out here sometime soon, because oneness is
I
what
knew
we
I heard
preach.
it somewhere. I took a trip there a
That,
couple
that's
times,
hey,
so maybe
that's our San Diego mentality, right? It's like the peace, love, and happiness. But really,
I
I
got a
mean,
frisbee around here somewhere.
but really, I mean, that's the beauty of the gym. What I love about the gym and the health club environment is it does become that community center. And when you have your team aligned, when you have your fitness team, your front front of the house team, however you want to call it, when they understand the mission, everybody is on the same page. And who's the winner, right? The winner are the members. The winner are the members getting the results. And I mean, more like also your investors, because the financials look good. But I mean,
Yep.
it's just a win-win all the way around.
Yeah, not to mention my referral basis being absolutely crazy. Nobody's willing to tell people more than somebody who's getting good results, right? Everybody wants to talk about that, or everybody's asking questions about it at the very least. I know we're getting so far off track here. I'm sure we are, TJ, and I apologize for that. But I don't know if you're able to move on to the next slide. Cool. So how do we increase PT? I mean, we just went through it all, but I do 8-week programs with this system. So I give them small, tangible, bites of fitness with progression and overload built into it. Again, this is not to talk about ramp. That's a future show, or if you're interested, hit me up. Members saw real value, right? Making them more open to adding PT sessions. We went over that. Member referrals skyrocketed. Um, Basically, just because of positive results, I offer a money back guarantee to every one of my members that does a ramp program. I can guarantee you that nobody else in the industry is offering a money back guarantee on personalized service. I'm able to do that, and I've given $0 back, zero refunds with anybody that does a ramp program. That lower cost of admission, honestly, again, we were talking about the disparity in the beginning with, do you want to pay 40 or you want to pay 500? Like, just that right there, even if somebody agrees that the service would be amazing and we're able to paint that picture that they're going to, lose that 30 pounds, it's still the disparity in pricing. There's no trust built yet, right? It's still just a pitch. It's still like that person's not even sure themselves. They're not even sure, that they can do what they're thinking or that they're asking for. So giving them those like smaller bites of fitness yeah, it just breeds I don't know, it just breeds open-mindedness. I don't want to say oneness again, Pete. So
Well, well, what I love about the 8-week programs, though, is when you look at it from, we know that it takes anywhere from, what we say, 8 to 16 weeks to really make adaptations. And 8 weeks is really a good amount of time that somebody can commit to a program. I think
mhm,
12, anything longer than 10 or 12 weeks, and you probably see a huge drop off in the last couple of weeks. So I think 8 weeks when I look at that, I'm like, I can do that for 2 months. That's not that long of a time frame. That's 56
no,
days and 8 weeks, 2, 3 workouts a week. That's something that I can do. That's something that I can get my arms around and make sure that, hey, that gives me the confidence. And really that's what our business is. We're building confidence in people. We're building
mhm,
confidence they can develop a healthy habit. And as they become stronger, they're building confidence they can do tough things.
yeah, no, I agree. I know I have one more slide, TJ. You can put it up and we can move on or whatever. Because we already talked about the trainer resistance to algorithmic technology and programming. And we went over some of the assumptions and the realities of what a system like the one that I'm using, there is a coexistence that can occur that is beneficial on both sides. So like I said, I just want to go over a couple slides that show kind of the improvements that have been made in my business as a result of this change. And we can move on to the next section of whatever you want to talk about, TJ.
Cool, excellent. No, I really enjoyed that conversation between you guys. It was awesome to hear kind of the points from both sides, and I agree completely about the importance of community. I think that was something you guys both touched on, but the power of having that physical space, that gym you go to where you can get results and also see other people getting results, it becomes kind of contagious, and it makes you want to go back there, and it's that big positive draw, and
Mhm.
that's a really powerful force for sure.
Yep.
So something else I want to talk about was kind of the HVLP model and kind of what's going on with trainers right now in HVLP models. Kind of Pete, how does the industry look in that regard?
That's really been, you can look at HVLP as, let's look at the three constituencies, right? You have the financial interests who really are the ones that fund the industry and get the industry going. You have the staff members who keep the industry happening, and then you have the members who are served by it. Right now, I think the happiest group of that are the investors, are the equity groups, because HVLP, you're getting people coming in, and it's all about scale. It's all about volume. It's all about, can we get more people doing this? And when you look, I'm not going to name names, but when you look at the largest companies, I think in the last 9 months, if you follow Athletic Tech News, most of the largest players have been bought by equity groups in the last 9 to 12 months. Nothing wrong with private equity. We need the capital in our industry. But what happens is they start looking at numbers and don't understand this is a people and service oriented business. So HVLP, because of its price point, it becomes so popular. Members love it. I can go join an HVLP club for 20 to 28, $32. I think back 25 years ago when I started my career, the average health club price was about $70 for decent mid price club that provided towels and had a full service schedule. And now, I mean, we've cut, even with inflation, we've now cut the membership price in half to make it more accessible. And so I think what the good news is we're seeing more and more people coming to work out. But the bad news is the focus is really on scaling. The focus is on generating revenue, and it's not as much as developing your team. The analogy I've always used, especially with the HVLP model, is it's the goose that laid the golden egg. And that's where personal training comes in. Because good personal trainers, a good personal training department, as we've been talking about, creates community in the club by getting results for the members. But if I put sales first and not service, instead of feeding the goose, in your approach, Eric, in a service-oriented approach, what you're doing is you're taking care of that goose, you're feeding that goose, you're tucking it in at night, you're reading a bedtime story, and what's going to happen? That goose is going to lay you a nice big fat egg every month. Now let's look at HVLP. HVLP is taking that goose and bashing that head into the barn door and saying, lay me more eggs, lay me more eggs. And what happens, that goose is so stressed out, is barely pooping out a pebble of gold a month. And right. that's how you can sum up the personal trainers in the HVLP model. Is from where I've worked and the ones I've worked with, they go to work for a health club because they sincerely want to help people and see people get results. But what happens is everything becomes about that number. Everything becomes about making the monthly number. Everything becomes about making the quarterly number. And yeah, we'll worry about service later. We got to get another deal. We have we have to get 5 more deals to hit our number tonight. And that's really where I think the industry's gone off track a little bit. Is they've really focused on the scaling. They've really focused on the revenue, and they've lost sight of the fact that at the end of the day, we're a people-oriented business. People want service. People need service. And you're proving it, man. When you put the service first, your numbers double. Your member attrition goes down. Your team member, your staff attrition goes down. And that goose is nice, fat, and happy, and laying a nice big fat egg every month.
Yeah, I mean, it's not still far from perfect, of course, but definitely a vast improvement from the old model that I operated within, which was a lot like the HVLP, a little bit more personalized, obviously less volume, but for the most part, just looking at how many came in and how many left yesterday, right? That's the thought process all the time. So I agree with you wholeheartedly. That's what's going on in our industry. I think even, we're getting that extra 5% that we've got in the past year, which is fantastic. I felt that as well. But are we actually getting that influx based on people's awareness of health and fitness and strength specifically? That's obviously where we're getting that little bump from. But are we already setting ourselves up for failure with an absolute ball drop in further, disenfranchised members at a higher rate of, is that how you feel that will go if we don't change this direction, Pete?
And I don't know. That's a good point, because not necessarily. I think when it comes down to strength training, I think one of the reasons why the industry is so busy right now is strength training in all of its different forms, whether it's machine training, free weight training, body weight training. All those are very popular right now. And strength training is something that most people can do, especially when you look at it like somebody who's deconditioned. If I'm 300 pounds, I might feel very uncomfortable going into a group fitness studio and trying to do a step class. I might feel very uncomfortable going into a group fitness studio and trying to do a Zumba. But can I go through a Nautilus circuit? Can I go through a life fitness circuit of machines? Absolutely. And that's much more accessible to me. Doing circuit training, circuit strength training, or doing strength training. If I'm overweight, if I'm deconditioned, if I haven't been to the gym for a while, that really is the strength training really is the most appealing part, because I don't need to move to the beat of the music. I don't need to be intimidated by other people in class. I can go at it at my own rate. And I really see, that's one of the things I love about where we are right now in the industry is we have this focus on strength, and we have this focus on people understanding the overall benefits of adding muscle and the health benefits of being strong. It's not just, and that's the thing that we've seen the big shift too the last 3 to 5 years, is we've really moved away from strength training for aesthetics, and really more and more we're hearing strength training for health. And the other thing that blows me away, move on, but in my last job, when I was speaking with young personal trainers in their early 20s, probably 30 to 40% of them said they worked out for their mental health. And there's been much more written on that and much more discussed that people are strength training, people are working out for their mental health. And I think that's a phenomenal change that we've seen. So really, your fit labs, Eric, aren't just, it's not just where I go to get bigger muscles. It's where I go to see my friends. It's where I go to burn off stress. It's where I go because I want to feel better. Oh, and by the way, if I look better naked too, that's a win-win-win all the way around.
Gyms are where people go to feel better. That's really what MASA, Make America Strong Again, that's the point that we're trying to get across, is that, this is an industry that makes people feel better.
And strength training is easy is one of the ways to do that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, easy. Absolutely. I mean, I wanted to ask a question along those lines. So when we talk about the amount of people in the US that are either overweight or deconditioned, the number is something like 230 million that have some type of metabolic dysfunction, being overweight up to morbidly obese. So how does programming help with that? Do you think programming is kind of an easier place to start, kind of as you mentioned, rather than do classes or do other types of fitness? Is an easy way to get acclimated and start doing a fitness routine?
Go ahead, Pete. You can start there.
Yeah, no, I definitely think it's programming. And again, that's where muscle. I mean, look, I'm working on the second edition of my book, Smarter Workouts, right now. And I pulled all the recent literature on the benefits of strength training. And you have to let's frame it this way. For 50, 60 years, researchers have been studying muscle as a function of performance, right? How can we get bigger, faster, stronger for playing a certain sport? Well, what we've seen as the baby boomers have gotten older, and the baby boomers, the first generation that grew up with health clubs. People in their 70s are the first generation that grew up working out their entire lifespan. And so now we're seeing people in their 60s and 70s that have much more muscle than 20, 30 years ago, the same age groups did 20, 30 years ago. So now there's been a big focus on strength training for health because muscle's more metabolically active. Muscle's like compounding interest. The more muscle I have, the more growth hormone I produce, the more peptides I produce, the more testosterone I produce. It really is muscle helps build more muscle. And so when people come in, if you're talking about that 230 million of deconditioned overweight people, 6 to 8 weeks on a strength training program can change their life, literally. Yeah. Now, they might not change their body overnight, but they'll feel stronger, they'll feel better, they'll sleep better, they'll have more energy, they'll be in a better mood. And that really is, I mean, I can't tell you how geeked I am on the whole emphasis of strength training right now, because as somebody who's been doing it for 30 something, 1988, so 20, oh shoot. I've been working out since 1988. So almost 40 years now I've been working out.
Yeah.
And it really is. I mean, if I go back and look at my first weight set, I think I was 13 when I got it. So I've been working out for 40 years. And this is the first time that we're seeing strength training being an emphasis is joining the gym. It's not just joining for the cardio. It's not just joining for the group fitness. People are joining gyms because they want to pick up heavy stuff. And that's really what the cool thing is right now, where we are. So to answer your question, TJ, it's all about the strength training program and a progressive overload. Because if I take somebody 300 pounds, 400 pounds, and get them on a strength training program that's going to become progressively more challenging over 8 weeks, we're going to see some tremendous results. And they're going to be having so much fun and enjoying the results. We're going to create a customer for life.
Yeah, totally agree. I'm going to distill it even further, honestly, just a little bit more primitive. The deconditioned market, overweight, obese, metabolic dysfunction, disease, any way, shape, or form, the process and the system I use is literally trying to get somebody to commit to going to the gym 3 days a week and sitting down 10 times, right? And eating a good breakfast. Like, let's start there, right? Let's meet people where they're at. I think that is very important to not overwhelm that deconditioned market who's already reluctant to open the door. Just like one of the cliche things we say, the heaviest thing in the gym is the front door, right? That's true for most people, right? That is the toughest part of the whole process, because we already know when they come in, we're at the very least going to show them a good time, a positive attitude, a good energy. We're going to give them that high five. But in reality, the programming is so important. And Pete, I love that you just agree that, and that's the heart of it, is that we need to get somebody on a program. And that can't always be a $500 bill a month. It can't, right? Because that's not scalable. So we get Mary Jones to come into the gym, very simple circuit program, every body part every day, sit down 10 times, eat a good breakfast. I guarantee you she's going to have a great time. I guarantee she's not going to feel that's difficult. I guarantee she's going to lose fat. She's going to gain muscle. She's going to feel better. And you're going to be a hero to her. And it's just the way
I
it is.
started I started my fitness career in 1990, as a high school kid, setting people up on the universal circuit at a Bally's club in Rockville, Maryland. And
Yeah.
I cannot tell you that 40 years later, or what is it, 30, 35 years later, I cannot tell you that that would be my default for these deconditioned people. Go to a
Absolutely.
gym, do 1 or 2 rounds of circuit training 3 times a week. And over it might be 4 months, it might be 6 months, but before they know it, their lives will change. And I am a huge fan of machine strength circuit training for that deconditioned population because of the health benefits, the muscle benefits, the strength training benefits. That really is. I mean, if I could snap my fingers and make anything, it would be like all health clubs would have a fully staffed machine circuit that you would put new members through, because that's
That's
where
it.
we see the magic happen.
It's so true. I mean, because after that, that's when the fun really starts, right? It's, now, again, in my model, I've got that deconditioned person in. I got them for 8 weeks to sit down 10 times, eat a good breakfast. I show them they lost 20 pounds of fat, gain a couple of pounds of muscle. What would have happened if I supercharged that experience with adding some training sessions? In reality, who's going to teach them some of the new exercise, teach them how to use our gym, right? So the program we use along with the trainer, that's your GPS to a healthy self. That's really all that is. So you go from kindergarten to first grade to second grade. Some people skip third grade, go to fourth grade. It's always different. But the reality is that it has to be, fun, effective, and simple.
Yeah, that's a good way to sum it up. I mean, if you can make it fun, effective, and simple, it's executable and it can be efficient. And it's been
Right.
really
And,
cool to
and, and
see.
technology is what's going to make that possible. Because as Pete said, I mean, I guess we'll get into the certifications, maybe another podcast, or maybe we'll get into it today too. But the kids that are, even adults, all the people that are going to get their certifications, they're not learning like really what to do with this clientele. They're getting kind of a roundabout. You know what? I'm going to get into it, Pete. I didn't think I was going to, but I'm going to get into it because part of the reason that I was banging my head against the wall for so many years is I could not figure out why my trainers didn't understand what I understood. I couldn't figure out why my trainers were afraid of the in-body machine and check-ins and all that stuff. I quickly found out that they're almost afraid to show maybe a lack of result. So there's that little bit of fear there that person's result actually is directly reflective of the food that's on the plate when you get home, from your paycheck. But so I decided I'm going to go get my certification. So I went to ISSA. I went through the whole process. Everything was awesome. The physiology, great, fantastic. And the whole time I'm looking at this fun little section in the middle that says building a program. I couldn't wait to get there. I was like, oh my God, this is going to be amazing. Finally going to figure out what it is that my trainers are doing with my clientele. And I got there and I was so let down at what was taught. But I
Mm.
can't blame the certifying body because that's a really huge thing to be able to teach so many people. So they had to water down the way they taught how to program to the masses because it would have been way too difficult for them. Probably would have been way more expensive for a certification, way longer, right? We need trainers, right, every day. Like, so it can't be this 4-year program to become a trainer, right? So I went through that whole process just to see. And as soon as I get out of that, I said, you know what? I get it. I understand why there's a divide. I understand why there's a sales team, why there's a PT desk, and why those worlds don't match. And it's because the trainers don't learn the business of the business, and the business ownership and the PE groups, like Pete said, don't take the time to understand what their trainers know and don't know. But the
Well,
reality is we need both.
No, 100%. And you're so right, man. And it's funny when I worked at the American Council on Exercise, it was a number of years ago in the mid 2000s, like 2008, or late 2000s. I got there in 2008 and they didn't have, ACE didn't have a program design model. And one of the first things we did with, I think it was the fourth edition textbook, was we created the integrated fitness training model. We created a 4-stage model, and it was based on the Soviet system. The Soviet Union used to have like a 5-stage system of progression to become an Olympic athlete. You started out as a regional athlete, you went to national level competition, international, and then Olympics. That was the Soviet model of progression for their athletic training. And so at ACE, what we did, and I was leading the design team on the strength training side, was we had stability, we had like functional movement, strength, and power. And really what I saw that as, that basically is periodization. And what I'd wanted to do was create a whole system of education based around that programming, but then leadership at the organization changed and they went a different direction. And I was just like, they went a different, and it's like, they missed that opportunity, because if you teach the programming first, if you teach how to design the programming and how to apply the programming, we don't need to teach the science as much. What we need to do is, here's why somebody should do relatively low intensity for the first 4 to 8 weeks of a program. Here's how to scale the program. Here's how to do progressive overload. Here's why that's important, because if you put that first, now I have a system that I can put people in. And that's where we know the science, the physiology gets results. And that really, to your point, if you don't have a model and a system to tie back to, you're throwing stuff against the wall and hoping it sticks.
Yeah.
And that really is what I saw is systems work. And that was what was such a cool thing when I started talking with you and Rocco and learning about the program that you guys use, is because we know it's just fundamental basis of fact. Progressive overload. We can go back to the story, the myth of Milo and the bull. The reason why Milo got so big is he picked up that dang calf every single day. That's what progressive overload does. And that's what, algorithmic software does. It applies that progressive overload. So muscle gets stronger, muscle gets bigger, and the members see results.
And how amazing would it be for these new trainers coming out of there with a tool like this that just took care of that whole thing, so that, just like you said, is they're able to kind of learn the business of the business at the same time and just be good people, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, well said. I think one of the things that's been so cool to see is how the national conversation is changing, kind of how public attention, as you guys have both mentioned, is becoming aware that strength is an important part of health. And, that awareness is really spreading. And now it seems like what the public needs is a way to figure out how to get there, how to get started, how to take these achievable steps to kind of build that strength and build that fitness. And I really think that's where MASA can step in and help kind of clarify this message and broadcast this, our intent to we want to get people back in the gyms to help them be healthy, to make it these positive community centers again, where you can go there, see results, feel good about yourself, give people knuckles who are also killing it, and just kind of have that feel good, kind of get healthy vibe. So, I think that's really awesome stuff.
Yeah.
Another thing I want to kind of talk about, kind of in closing here, wrapping a lot of what we talked about up. So if we look toward the future, what do you guys think of the future of the fitness industry? How can it evolve to get better? What are the next steps in terms of, how does the fitness industry get better, and how do we better serve our market to help them get healthier and help them come to the gym to kind of regain their fitness? I'll start with you, Pete.
Go ahead, Pete.
Honestly, I think we need a system. We need to apply a system that works. I really think that having people join a club and just letting them go on it on their own is almost it's almost malpractice, right? Because you can get exercise is stress on the body. Exercise is physical stress on the body, and if we just let somebody join a gym and start going at it, they could die. And every health club company I've worked for has had people die in the gym. Most of the time it's due to a cardiac event. But that's the reality of it. It is, exercise could be deadly when done wrong. And really the biggest opportunity I see for the industry and the biggest growth is a systematic approach to programming, because as we get more people interested in the health benefits of strength training, we are going to need a way to serve them. And more importantly, as a medical community really starts accepting the fact of a muscle-centric approach to medicine, they want to know that if they refer somebody to FitLab, they want to know that they're getting the right program that's going to deliver results. So I'm very bullish on fitness, but really we need to, and that's why I really am stoked on the MASA, Make America Strong Again, because we need to align and coalesce around strength training. Because if we come up with a system, a consistent system, an application of strength training, what we're going to do is every health club can benefit, because your members can get results. And results equal retention, retention equals revenue, and everybody's happy. You get the equity guys happy, you get the members happy, you get the trainers happy, and it's a win-win-win all the way around.
A oneness. I honestly couldn't say it any better. I couldn't say it any better. Honestly, Pete, I have nothing to add to that. That was honestly just brilliant to listen to. That nice roundabout way of just calling out what's actually needed to. We need to stop competing with each other, right? We need to start complimenting each other. We need to wake more people up. We need to do that. And the only way to do it is with common messaging and common approaches and getting into rooms, getting on podcasts like this and mixing worlds and mixing medical, mixing fitness and just really just talking about it. Because the reality is if we get enough people woken up to saying, wow, I can actually go to one of these health clubs, get what I paid for low cost of admission, with guaranteed outcomes, and it's an all inclusive situation. My God, think about the billions, hopefully trillions of dollars that could be involved in that if we could just put down the museum touritis, I'll call it, of who's better than who and who has bigger and better and newer and all that stuff. It's just like, I'm so sick of all that. If we just get together, there's going to be market share for everybody that we've never seen before, and it's the industry will flourish.
What's the number? We have 300 million Americans, give or take, and we've added
Yeah,
5% to the health club. So it's 15. We've added 15 million people, and that's 15 million new members. If we can bump it up another 10%, and that's another 30 million members. That's keeping all of us busy. We're all eating.
it's
We are all eating as a result of that.
absolutely, and nobody needs to leave the table, honestly. Um, oh, here I sent this after the fact. I think we went way past it, but I want to point something out. I think this is a good time to do that, and then we can round it out and we can get out of here, guys. Um, I consult on the side for gyms. Again, in-body technology is always kind of the advice I give to gyms to use. I want to just compare, and this isn't to bastardize a specific trainer or an organization or anything like that, but what I like to kind of point out is like how much simpler life could be if we had a program that could do the heavy lifting of the progression and the overload, which Pete obviously just that's his gospel. This is just okay. Just for example, I'll just read down here because I don't remember what the exact numbers were. But I went to some in-bodies. I asked, give me some results from the past. It actually took way too long for somebody to find me an in-body that was current, that was already. I was like, oh my God, you're not showing your clients their results. This is nuts, and they're paying you $500, $1,000 a month. It was just bananas. But this was 2 months of work. This person spent $1,200 on training. They lost 4 pounds of fat. They did gain a little bit of muscle, but what I found is the trainer that was with this client, this was a social media post, and they were jumping up and down about this, about how well this person did. Now, again, I understand there's psychological things that go on. There's anxiety could have been solved. I get that, but I think most people can agree that I wouldn't trade you $1,200 to lose 4 pounds as a 273-pound person. Right? So if you go to the next one, I found one that was working with my organization that was using ramp as the programming, also with a trainer. Similar kind of metrics, about a 260-pound person, spent $130 with me, lost 9 pounds of fat, gained 9 pounds of muscle. Now, just like the last one, there was, a slight raise in body weight, but the reality, just, Pete could probably talk about this forever, about how much metabolically better this person is by gaining that 5.5 pounds of skeletal mass. I think it was 9 pounds of lean body mass, and losing 9 pounds of fat. This person was coached on nutrition because we gave him the nutrition program with our ramp system. We taught him how to prioritize protein, and poof, this person's so much better. So for that same kind of period, similar sized person, it's hard to argue that a system that has all the progression overload built in and individuality and specificity and even diminishing return, it's very important and very effective.
Dude, I love that. I love stuff like InBody because you see, like, I wish when I was training full time, like now I'm doing in home and I got to figure out if I can get an InBody scale to use with in home clients. But really to be able to have that data because you can find out is the program working, yes or no. Because I want to know if the program's not working. I want to know if the program is not working, what variables do I need to change or do I need to coach the client? And
Yep.
I love this stuff. And when you gain 9 pounds of muscle, I mean, you're elevating your resting metabolic rate. What about 7, 8. That's about 75, 80 calories a day.
80. Yeah.
Yeah, about 80 calories a day. And over the course of the week, you're burning an extra, 560 calories. That's like, if we burn about 100 calories to walk a mile, if you gain 9 pounds of muscle, that's like walking 5 miles a week without taking a single step. Your body's
Yeah.
going to burn about the same amount of calories.
Absolutely.
That to me is amazing. And that's the benefit of a systems-based approach to programming.
And again, on the other side of it, if I'm a paying client with a trainer, you better show me my results. I want to know what I got, right? So again,
100%.
that's another instance of me just switching the mindset of my business from numbers to intention, and revenue's been, the result.
Absolutely. Well, I think that's a good way to wrap it up. I mean, you guys have clearly highlighted the importance of programming and education kind of in the industry. You guys are both doing really cool things in the industry, and really glad you guys are a part of MASA. I feel like, with this team we have, we can really make a difference and kind of increase that additional 5% into additional 10%, like you're saying, Pete, and keep growing with the industry. So for everyone listening, if you're hearing Pete and Eric talk and you agree with a lot of what they're saying, or you're interested in what they're saying, come join us. Come join MASA. We want the whole industry to kind of be part of this movement and to get the message out there and to help make Americans healthy again, to make them strong again, to get them back in the gym and make gyms the center for health. So this is the movement. I'm going to drop the website link below. And until next time, thank you guys for coming on. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for having us. Thanks, DJ. Great job.
Thanks, guys. Bye, everybody. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the podcast. Really good conversation today. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you like our videos. And if you want to be part of this movement, please reach out. Website's at the bottom, and we'd love to have you. We're going to do another episode this time next week, so check back soon. Thank you.